And welcome to the People's Perspective. My name is Jermaine J. Williams, and today we have a really special guest. We got my homeboy coming on, man. I like to call him my brother from another color, Mr. Alistair McKenzie, civil rights attorney. Alistair, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Hey, Jermaine, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, no problem, man. I really appreciate it, man. Look, let's get right into it, man. I want to start right because I know, we only got 20, 30 minutes, and I know you're a busy man, and I know 20, 30 minutes is not enough time with you. What do you think about this presidential election? On one side, we got the Democrats. We got, we could just go on and on about the Republicans. They have so many people, like I can't even name them all, probably in this 20 minutes. And then on the other side, you got Hillary Clinton, you got Bernie, and you have Biden, seems like, and you even have these nuts, So,
Yeah.
like, what do you think about what's going on with this political process?
It's meaningless.
And when you say that, what you mean by that?
What do I mean by it's meaningless? Well, the way the system's currently structured, even if we were to get the best possible candidate, who in my mind is Bernie Sanders, into office, he would still be hogtied from being able to create any meaningful reforms. As he himself has even said, that the only way anything's ever going to change in this country, because of the way the propaganda system's set up and the way the interests are set up in this country, is for a grassroots movement of people to rise up and basically demand change. And until that happens, presidential elections are pretty meaningless.
And speaking of that, like, what do you think about, in my mind, and these are my words, of course they're not yours, the laziness or the lack of knowledge of people to even care enough to get up and make a move? Like, I know it's frustrating, but how do you turn that frustration, because yourself being a civil rights attorney, how do you turn that frustration into like your day-to-day lifestyle and your day-to-day career?
It requires education. That's the most fundamental thing, is because we don't have a system of education that really works for people in this country. We don't have a system set up to make productive citizens that are aware of the importance of elections, that are aware of the importance of their engagement in the political process. And until we fix that educational system from the ground up, there's nothing that can be done, basically to get people out. Occasionally we'll have a rock star come out like Obama was in 2008, and he really captures people's imaginations and he gets people out to vote. But as far as changing the system in the ways that it needs to be changed to benefit the people, it's going to take much more than just a flash in the pan moment for that to occur. So what do we need to do to engage people in the process more so that we can get the changes that we need to get? We need to educate people.
And you like you said, getting people out to vote. You said something about that earlier. Felons and rights restorations. That seems like it should be a hot topic, but for some reason it really isn't. It's like the elephant in the room for people that's like conscious to that fact. But most people that it like affects directly, they're not even aware of it, or even show to the initiative to go after that. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the reason that a large portion of that population is not even aware of themselves needing to push the issue is because they've been systematically disenfranchised. And when you've become systematically disenfranchised and you've become excluded from the system, which is what has essentially happened to people who've come out of jail, most of them don't ever consider or even think about returning into society as it exists, because they have to live in a world that's outside of society. They can't get jobs. They have to disclose on job applications that they're convicted felons, or that they've been arrested, even not even convicted sometimes. They can't have firearms, they can't vote, they can't do all these things that people normally can do. But most importantly is the getting a job aspect, because as soon as you exclude someone from legally being able to get a job, you've completely separated them from all of the normal means of existing in society, because society says and demands, the way it's set up, that we have a job to make money, to feed our family, to take care of ourselves, and to participate in society. And simply because convicted felons can't get jobs and can't vote, they exist outside of the system as we know it. They live in another world than we do.
And that's an issue that I hold true to my heart, because I'm a adjudicated felon. And, you know, like we all have a past. And, you know, I like to bring up Malcolm X a lot when we're speaking about that, because he was himself was a felon, but one of the most smartest man in American history. And just to see what, like, a lot of felons, you know, some people that go down for drugs and certain stuff like that, they could be some of this country's greatest accountants and, you know, dealing with figures that this country has ever seen. And, you know, just dealing with that, I know it's frustrating. But just to shift gears for a second, you're a civil rights attorney. Exactly what does that mean?
What does it mean to be a civil rights lawyer? Well, I take it probably a little more broadly than some other folks do. What I believe it stands for is standing up for not only our civil rights, but our human rights as human beings, and working towards establishing some kind of equality in our society. Now, what does it mean on a day-to-day basis? It usually means I'm suing cops. It usually means I'm suing political officials. It usually means I'm suing other government agents who have violated someone's constitutional rights. So when people get beat up by cops, when people get falsely arrested, when people have illegal search warrants served on them, when you know, mayors overstep the lines and violate people's First Amendment rights, you know, all sorts of incidents, when, you know, Department of Children's Family gets involved in someone's life and tears their children away from them illegally with no reason other than to be a bully, that's when I get involved. And so I come in and I help people after all their criminal matters are resolved. And then I assist them in trying to get some semblance of justice, which is twisted because the only kind of justice that our society offers people is money. And that really just isn't justice in the end. You know, we can get what's called injunctive relief, which is an order saying, no, you can't do this anymore. But even that, you know, sometimes isn't enough. But still, I mean, it is the only route that we currently have available to, you know, go forward and try and protect people's constitutional rights when they've been violated. As it's become clear to me in this day and age, we can't depend on our criminal justice system to ensure that people's constitutional rights are protected. We can't ensure that people are adequately represented because the public defenders are too overburdened. We cannot, you know, we cannot ensure that the courts will enforce the violations of people's rights, because more often than not, the judges sitting on the bench are friends with the cops and they're friends with the prosecutors. And we have a system set up where it is not designed to protect people's constitutional rights. It is a system designed to protect the system itself.
And, you know, you are a respected and a feared attorney, lawyer.
I don't know about that.
What'd you say?
I don't know about that. I don't know about all that.
Hey, well, I tell you this. When you say it yourself, it sounds arrogant. When somebody else say it, it's leaning more towards the truth. So I'm saying it. You went after the mayor of Pensacola. You sued the city on behalf of Occupy Pensacola. Me, you and I, we both were co-speakers of one of the oldest civil rights movement or organization in Pensacola, which is Movement for Change. We both were speakers at their annual event. And, you know, I know a lot of people, I mean, it was predominantly Black. Everybody was looking, and you went first. And everybody was looking. It was like, okay, you know, here's this young white guy, and you went up there and you blew them away. And I know the speeches on YouTube. I wish I had how you could get to it, like right next to me, so I could tell the audience how, so they could people really need to see that speech. And in my opinion, that was one of the best speeches in 2000s I have heard, man. I mean, like you have really done a lot. Now, this Lawyers Guild that you're a part of, what's the name of it?
The National Lawyers Guild.
National Lawyers Guild. And tell us more about that.
Well, the National Lawyers Guild is a left-wing lawyers organization that was brought about in response to initially the alienation of Blacks and women from the American Bar Association, but mostly Blacks. And because the American Bar Association wouldn't allow Blacks to be members, a group of progressive lawyers in the 1930s decided it was best to start a group of lawyers that was dedicated towards social causes. And ever since the late 1930s, the National Lawyers Guild has been on the left side of politics, trying to assist people and the legal system to become more respectful and more equal of people's rights. But I left as the regional vice president just a few months ago. I actually resigned.
Oh, wow. Well, now,
you want to know why?
I wanted to, but I was scared to ask. But please let us know.
Well, it brings me to a bigger topic, okay? And so that bigger topic is identity politics, which I knew you said you wanted to talk to me about Black Lives Matter, and we can tie all this in together because I think that there's a bad situation going on currently in our society, especially for the more, I guess, democratic or liberal side of society, and that's identity politics. I think it's absolutely wrecking the possibilities for reaching any sort of equality that we have going forward. And I was basically ran out, I felt, of the National Lawyers Guild because of a cadre of folks that started, trying to assert identity politics, which I've found is just another form of domination of people. And so you create this other by saying, I am of a certain identity. And by doing that, you say that you, the other, are privileged, okay? So, in the context of a black and white racial conversation, I'm the white person, I'm privileged. I mean, I know I'm privileged, okay? Trust me, that it has benefited me a million times in my life where I should have gotten in trouble, but I got out of trouble because I was white. It's real. I accept my privilege, and I try and use my privilege to everyone's advantage. But that said, by doing the identity politics thing, what you're saying is, hey, you're privileged, I'm not privileged. I come from this group, be it, black, be it gay, be it transsexual, be it any group that is not considered one of the privileged groups, okay? And then you say that, okay, we need to assert our identity and get equality. But what you're not trying to do is it's not been trying to get equality. It's been trying to get up to that place and use that place as a position of power. What people need to understand is that identity politics fractures us into a million different pieces without ever enabling us to come together. And if we need to change things, which we damn sure do, okay, we damn sure need to make sure that people are equal, that the horrendous rates of violence against black people by law enforcement stop, that the systematic disenfranchisement of convicted felons, which disproportionately affects minorities, stops, okay? We need to work together. That means we need the blacks, we need the whites, we need the gays, we need the transsexuals, we need everybody together. And as long as we're playing this game of identity politics, all we are doing is fracturing from one another instead of all trying to help each other rise up to where we need to be so that there no longer is a conversation about privilege or not. Now, my God, that is a pie in the sky idea. And my God, that will take a lot of work and a lot of effort. But I think we have got to start getting away from the whole idea of identity politics so that we can come together to lift everyone up to change the system for the better.
You just said so much, I don't even know what else to say. Because that's so, I mean, I agree with you 100%. And, and another question I have for you is that you alluded to is all these police killings, these police shootings, and even the Sandra Bland case, as now that's being investigated as a homicide.
Murder investigation now.
Right, exactly. What are your thoughts on that? And what does the people need to do? Because we have all seen everything play out on CNN as far as rioting in the streets or whatever. If you had it your way, what would be the best way to kind of have the correct uprising?
Well, people need to get together, and I think civil disobedience is a great idea because the system is not set up to assist people. And so outpourings of nonviolent civil disobedience are an ideal way to start generating, the motion in society that needs to occur. I mean, you've got to make mass demonstrations in order to shut things down, in order to get people to pay attention, and they have to be sustained for long enough to do that. But that can't be the only piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is because we're trapped in the system that we're trapped in, we need to go through the official mechanisms to try and make systemic changes so that we can change how police engage with citizens. Right now, we have a culture of police that is hyper-militarized, that is trained more on violence than they are on community policing principles, that is trained more on, how to conduct search warrants than they are on what the constitutional rights of people are. They're trained to go to people's cars and deceive them about what their constitutional rights are instead of having a mutual respect for the rights of citizens, constantly trying to violate people's rights. As a result, what we need to do is we need to have a criminal justice system, number one, that when these acts of police violence do occur, they come down, they indict those cops, they put those cops in jail when they need to go to jail, just like everybody else does when they commit a murder or when they beat someone up. They need to go to jail for it, okay? They don't right now. The system's designed to protect the system. The next thing that needs to be done, it's this obscure thing, okay, that exists only in the area of civil rights law that I practice in, and it's called qualified immunity. I'm going to sum it up really simple for people who've never heard of the term. What qualified immunity is it gives cops the ability to get out of a lawsuit, okay, when they have violated someone's constitutional rights. When they violated their rights, they get out of the lawsuit a free pass, get out of jail free card. Because if it's not clearly established, which means if an identical case has not come before the highest court that you need it to come from with almost identical facts, so a situation happening on the street, almost identical to another situation, then the cop is entitled to what's called qualified immunity. Even though he may have violated someone's constitutional rights, even though he may have shot someone, beat someone up, or killed someone, they can get away with it scot-free. So we need to get rid of qualified immunity. It may have been a good idea when it started. It is no longer a good idea because of how it's become. It is nearly impossible for attorneys like me to get our jobs done as civil rights lawyers simply because of qualified immunity. So what else do we need to do? We need to get our community leaders activated. We need people to make this an issue. I mean, we need to hit it from every different angle to ensure that we can change this culture, okay? And then the police themselves need to change. Their education change, their educational requirements need to change. The way police departments are set up need to be changed. We need to get rid of the drug war. That'll eliminate a whole bunch of the problems. And we need to get rid of the perverse funding that they get. So they get funding. Sometimes there's cops, even in Pensacola, who get, certain amounts of bonuses for conducting a certain amount of types of arrests, such as DUI arrests or other arrests. And so when you incentivize someone monetarily to find people breaking the law for certain things, you incentivize promoting a criminal justice system that just puts more people in jail. So even in a questionable situation, a cop who's like, well, I can make this one more arrest, okay, and I'm going to get that bonus for putting these people in jail, then, you have a system that is incentivized in a negative manner. Another instance, in Florida, for example, did you know that each state attorney's office in their respective little areas, so like the District 1 one for Pensacola area, they get $50 every time they bring a prosecution against someone. $50 every single time. The state attorney's office has a financial incentive to increase the size of their budget by bringing prosecutions against people for crimes. Now, is that going to lead them to want to increase the size of their budget? Yeah, and they know the easy way to do it is bring charges against people, prosecute them for those charges. Do they care whether those people have actually committed any crimes? No, they don't. What they want to do is get that $50 in the pocket every time they ring that till with another prosecution. That's another problem. If we eliminated some of those incentives, made them illegal and unconstitutional, which I believe they already are unconstitutional, we can start making small steps to change the criminal justice system in this country and policing.
And you are really shining the light on this, because a lot of this stuff, I like to consider myself knowledgeable in this. And now the more you talk, I realize the more ignorant I am on this topic, and that's frightening, man. That is really frightening, especially.
It's scary.
It is. And I'm not going to ask you this question, and I'm not looking for you to follow up on it. These are my words, especially when we speak about Pensacola, the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. It's a terrorist faction that's led by a tyrant. And, if they have those type of incentives working with, like, the state attorneys, man, that's just for the minorities. And I'm not talking about black or white. I'm talking about rich or poor. I'm talking about those type of things. I don't want to never make it a black or white issue, but that really brings the light to it's scary for people that I know and people that I'm close to back home. And so what's the best thing an average Joe, an average citizen can do to help out, to kind of change the tide on that?
I mean, there are small, probably seemingly innocuous things that you can do that will add up in the end, which is send letters to your state representatives, send letters to the Board of County Commissioners, send letters to the mayor, send letters to the governor of the state of Florida, send letters to them saying you've had enough and you're not going to take it. You're tired of a system that is designed to criminalize everyone, just for an economic incentive. And believe you me, that is more the issue than anything, is that our system is designed and currently set up to create economic incentives to put people in jail, okay, and then to keep them there. You posted something about Michael Jordan earlier this week and how he, invested in the present private industrial complex. That's another reason. I mean, we got Geo here in Florida and a few others in Florida. These people make money off of putting people in prison. They have powerful lobbyists that they hire to go to the state senators and the state representatives to put money into their campaign funds so that they'll vote for them, so that we can increase the sentencing, so that we can increase the prosecution of crime, so that we can keep people in prison so that they can make money. That's a perverse system. We need to get rid of that system, because that system is not about people. That system is about money.
And you know what? And that's, Alistair, that's why I love you, man. That's why you my brother, because, to the people, I know this is a nationwide web show, but to the people back home on the panhandle of Florida, this guy has done more for Black people in Florida that you will never know. You would never, ever know the things, how hard he worked. And I know, and I only know a certain percentage of it. I mean, you have helped me out of a lot of situations and represented me on a lot of things. Now, Alistair, just to switch gears just a little bit, you mentioned what I posted about Michael Jordan. I posted today, and I seen that you reposted about the Napa Valley, the whole thing about the train situation. I seen you had put like disgusted, and I'm not outrageous. You put like but, one. But
it is outrageous, but that gets me to another point too. Is while it is absolutely outrageous, it gets me to another point too, though, that I felt bad at the same time that I posted it, because then I'm just engaging in what this stuff is called outrage porn. So it's like the flavor of the week, is the Napa Valley wine train. Is it outrageous? Absolutely. Do I tolerate that kind of conduct? No, absolutely not. But then we've moved already from, the Sandra Bland issue. We've moved from, even the crazy girl out in Washington. We moved from another issue, and it's like every single week we're moving to another issue without actually circling back around to say, what are the real problems that are facing us that we need to be thinking about, instead of getting distracted by every issue that can outrage us? Because trust me, there's a lot going on in this messed up society that can outrage us every single second of every single day, So yes, I mean, that is outrageous, but at the same time, I mean, I kind of felt bad for posting it because it's outrage porn, and it's like, what can we do? What is the system that is causing that problem is what we need to be examining, okay? Let's not just get outraged to that incident, but let's look at this. Some Black ladies on a train drinking some wine and having a good time. Well, the only reason they were kicked off that train, hey, they're Black. So maybe what does that get to? We have systematic racism in this country that is protected by the state. And so what we need to be talking about is not that incident. We need to be talking about, how do we fix the systematic racism that is built into our state and our culture?
And you know what? You my homeboy now, because we think alike and we share a lot of thoughts. And you said it better than I could. The flavor of the week. That's exactly what it is. Every week is something. You'll jump from Mike Brown to Sandra Bland to, I Can't Breathe to, Black Lives Matter and this and that and this and that. It's just like, that's, well, okay, we're jumping from exactly what you said. I don't want to just be an echo. Exactly what you said is the thing that needs to be addressed. It really does, man. And so I was kind of distracted because you're a cat back there. I can't stop. Every time I come over to your house, man, he gets on my nerves, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so Alistair, another thing, man, tell me more about, about the rights restoration. I just want to go back that for a second, because I'm having Desmond come on the show. Hopefully, I'm booked up this week, but hopefully we've been talking. Hopefully next week, and that's something
man, you gotta have him on.
Oh man, I talked to him
he
on the
can.
phone, man. He was so mad at me because I haven't been pushing the issue for rights restorations
Yeah,
like I should have, and he was
it's got to
absolutely right.
happen. So it's got to happen. I mean, Desmond can talk about it much more eloquently than I can, but it's got to happen. We need to get back to where we were, which was in Florida, right before Governor Rick Scott, a friggin' criminal, was elected governor in this state. Charlie Crist had instituted automatic rights restoration for people coming out, and that's exactly what we need: is automatic rights restoration. We need to ban the box, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, we need to take it off job applications. That were you convicted of a felon is the initial thing. Maybe getting deeper into an interview process or something later on down the road, they should be entitled to know it. Maybe it should be limited to crimes of dishonesty and stuff like that. I don't know. But we need to ban the box as far as just making that automatic non-entry point. And we need to make sure that people get their voting rights back. There is no reason they should be stripped of their voting rights. As soon as they have served their time, they have served their time. And they should come out and they should be allowed to be full-fledged citizens again. Because to give them anything less is, like I alluded to earlier, is to take them outside of society. And you can't have a second-class society living outside of the normal society and expect things to go well for those people or for the country or for the society as a whole.
And no matter if we're talking about Al Gore and Bush number 2, or we're talking about Charlie Crist and Rick Scott, Broward County, always around South Florida, Broward-Dade County, it's always by a hair, and it's pulling the presidential election or the race for the governor's mansion. But if we had those rights restoration, I don't think it'll be close, and they know that. You know what I'm saying? But
the Republicans know it won't be close. The Republicans know that if ex-convicts are given their rights when they come out, that generally the trend is that they are going to be liberal or democratic leaning, and that's why they ensure that these ex-convicts do not get their voting rights when they get out. That's all it is. Is a power play for them to stay in power.
And you know what? And I have to keep myself in check. I have to be disciplined. Because me and you are really good friends, and I kind of forget we on the show. I'm like, this probably going to go on for another 3 hours if I let it go like that. Because this is normally what we do minus the beer.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do one thing, and hopefully you come back on maybe in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month or so.
Whenever, man.
Time. And I'm gonna give you these last couple of minutes. Go for it. Just say what you want to say.
No, man. Ask me a question. I'll answer a question.
Okay. All right. Well, since you said it like that, let me think of a really good question that's really outside the box. Okay. Alistair, tell me this. The things that's going on in Pensacola, all the way down to Dade County, Florida is looked upon as a state that is not in the best shape. And when you talk about, you got Jordan Davis, you had Trayvon Martin, no matter what happened with Mike Brown or Eric Gardner, Florida is always a state that is looked down upon, and that is a state that you practice in. What are some of the things that Black people can do in day-to-day life, or the average Joe can do in the state of Florida, no matter what county or city they're in? What can they do to change the tide, to at least get us back? Because in my opinion, that we have, if we come together and strengthen numbers, we really could make some noise in the state. But what do we have to do? Where do we start?
Organize and educate. That's where you start. You got to educate people, and you got to organize, and you got to figure out a system and a way to keep people interested in being organized, and a system that encourages people to educate one another. And only when we start there, through education and organization, can we ever get anywhere. And only once that can be sustained can we hope to achieve any real change. And then we need to get out, we need to protest, we need to do everything at our disposal to try and change the system so that it works for people. Because as far as I understand, government was created by the people and for the people, which means that government is supposed to be representing the people of every creed, color, stripe, sexuality, whatever it may be, and that we are all supposed to be treated equal before the law. That also means rich people versus poor people being treated equal before the law. And that's not how our system's set up. And so we need to do some fundamental thinking and some fun and organizing to start asking those questions of those people in government who represent themselves to represent us. But when it's clear the interests that they represent are not the interests of the people.
You know what? And I do want to ask you one more thing before we get out of here. If you could give a brief summary of the people that's not really on it, school to prison pipeline. Can you just run that down for a quick second?
What is the school to prison pipeline?
Yes, sir.
Well, you need to have Miss Sarah Latshaw on to talk about that.
When the question popped in my head, I was thinking, I said, man, I got to hit up Sarah, man. I got to get Sarah.
You do, man. Yeah, and there's lots of other people out there. I mean, Michelle Alexander, you could have her on and talk to her. I mean, she can talk to you all about the school to prison pipeline. But basically, it's a system that's set up for failure by getting kids into trouble in the school system, most oftentimes involving, low-level things that kids have done in school and arresting them for it, and then putting them into the prison pipeline from there by just continually putting them into trouble. But hell, we're lucky if kids are even in school half the time when they grow up in environments where all they're surrounded by are people that have already been disenfranchised by our society, and they're not taught the first thing about going to school. They're not taught the first thing about, being a good member of society. Why are they not taught that? Because their parents have been unfairly, systematically kicked out of being a part of our society in this country. And so we need to figure out how to fix that, okay, before just trying to put a Band-Aid on some school to prison pipeline. What we need to fix is how not to disenfranchise people simply because they've committed some crime in their life. Hey,
there you have it. That's one of the baddest mans in the civil rights game. Alistair McKenzie, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And I know you're going to come back, man. I'll give you a call so we can go ahead and schedule it, man, next month or something.
All right, Jermaine. Thank you very much for having me on, man. I hope I had a good time doing it, and I hope it was useful.
Hey, of course it was, man. And that, like I said, man, that's Alistair McKenzie. It's one of the best guys out there, man. Google him. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if the people want to just kind of connect with you or just pick your brain or get you for speaking engagements, how can they get to you?
J. Alistair McKenzie on Facebook.
That's J. Alistair McKenzie, and you see the name, the way the name is spelled. Hey, I appreciate y'all, man. We got this is, what's today? Tuesday. We got a couple of days left in the week, and I promise you this week we're going to close it out with a bang. We're not really trying to let the cat out the bag or the cat out of Alistair's house. Hey, but look, y'all stay tuned, man. It's the Pensacola Perspective. Everybody, it's not the Pensacola Perspective. It's the people's perspective. Everybody has a perspective, but there's no perspective like the people's perspective. Thank y'all, and keep tuning in.